We are in for a ride with this video. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the 5th installment of my university update videos. Now, as we're slowly but surely getting into semester 2 of 3rd year, I'm here to reflect on last semester. My first semester of 3rd year at university. It was a ride. If you guys are relatively new to my channel and are not entirely sure what is happening in this video, basically at the end of every semester I make a video about what went on. It's basically just to give you an idea of what I've been up to for the last few months. If you're looking to study primary education, this one is probably for you. I kind of run through what courses I've been doing, what's been involved in each, what the assessments were like, and then eventually get on to the grades that I've gotten. As I said, this is the 5th video of this kind that I've made. I will leave all the other 4 down below so you can see what I got up to in first year if you're looking to apply to primary education, specifically at Aberdeen Uni. See what I got up to in my first few years and see where I'm at now. Honestly, this full video I'm just going to be in shock. 3rd year was the first year of our course. We studied purely primary education material. Up until now, we've always done a 30 credit primary education course and made up the extra credits doing electives. Whereas this year, all of our courses were primary education. And going into that, at the beginning of last semester, I didn't know what to expect. I loved studying primary education, I loved what we were learning, I loved being out on placement, but it was never what I got my best grades in. For some absurd reason, I always did better in my electives. I would get A's in my electives and then get B's in primary education, and that was kind of worrying because I was like, yeah, well, this is what I kind of want to study, this is what I want to do with my life, and why am I not getting better results in this than I am about cannibalism? But in saying that, I was excited to get into it. I've heard that 3rd year was a lot more hands-on, a lot more kind of classroom-based learning, and that is what I was looking for. And that's what I got delivered. To be honest, 3rd year semester 1 has been my favourite semester so far, content-based. I just came away at the end of every week knowing that I'd learned at least one thing new that was going to help me when I got to a classroom, and that felt really nice. So the overall structure of our course this year was primary education was split down into 3 smaller courses. So we had our first course, which was course A. It was Foundations for Learning, and that was kind of our big course. That was like our 30 credit course that kind of meant a lot. We then had 2 slightly smaller 15 credit courses. The first one was called Developing Professional Knowledge, and it had a maths focus, and then there was a professional focus which allowed you a little bit of personalisation. So the course A and the course B were mandatory, you had to do it, everyone was doing the same stuff, going to the same lectures and the same tutorials, whereas course C gave you a little bit of specialisation. We were given 4 options and we could choose how to kind of personalise our learning. The course I studied was called Belief in Scotland, but there was also Making History. What were the other ones? There was a public art module, and was there a science one? I can't remember what the other one was this year. Outdoor learning? I don't know. So we had these 3 courses, each of them having lectures and tutorials every week, and that lasted for a period of 6 weeks. We were only at university for 6 weeks last semester, and then the rest of the time was made up on placement. So we had 6 weeks going to lectures and tutorials in university, and then 4 weeks out on a continuous placement, and that was quite the experience. So let's get into course A, which is Foundations for Learning. And just FYI, I will be looking down quite a lot. I've got some notes down here that I'm reading off of. Well, not reading off of, you know, you get the gist. So, Foundations for Learning. Here we go. I really enjoyed this course. It was something that I could see myself picking up little bits here and there from, and I really enjoyed what we were learning. It had a focus on early years teaching because our main focus overall last semester was early years, whereas this semester now it is kind of in upper years. So we were learning a lot about cognitive, social, emotional development. We were studying a lot about learning through play and how that affects development. And we also focused a lot on language acquisition and literacy development in the early years. And that was all stuff that was totally interesting, especially because we knew that we were going to be going into an early years placement. We were picking up all of these little tips and tricks that we'd be able to use when we were actually out on placement, and all of this stuff that we were learning had a kind of direct effect on us and the pupils that we were going to be teaching. Each week we had 2 one-hour lectures and 2 two-hour workshops for this one course, and to be honest, I really enjoyed it. As I said at the beginning of the video, I loved kind of everything to do with what we were learning at university last semester. I just totally got on with it. I found it so interesting and inspiring, and I just knew that we were finally at the point that everything that we were learning had a purpose. And because I loved the theory so much, of course I was so excited to get out onto placement. So it came around to the end of October time, I went out on my placement, and as you'll probably know, I had a really horrible time. I hated my placement. For the first week and a half I came home crying every single day. I just had the worst time, and that was so destroying. Because the beginning of the semester got off to such a great start. I was absolutely loving it. I was so excited to get out onto my placement, and to go from that to just getting knocked right back down again was just horrible. Now, I've spoken about it briefly before in a few videos, and of course I had to mention it in this one, but I'm not going to go into full detail about this placement because I'm actually going back to the same school this semester. I don't want to be bad-mouthing anyone or bad-mouthing the school. It's also not really professional to do that. But I just didn't have a good experience whatsoever, and I can only pray that my experience this semester is so much better. But yeah, that was the first kind of bump in the road. I'd done so well and really enjoyed my course side of things, but then as soon as I got out into placement I hated it, and it was so worrying because that is what I'm actually going to be doing. After I graduate uni, I'm not going to be sitting in lectures and tutorials anymore. I'm going to be out in a classroom, and the fact that I didn't enjoy being out in that classroom really knocked me. But in saying that, I survived, I managed my 4 weeks, and then it got to assessment time, and I was actually quite excited. I'd got out of my placement, I was feeling on a high because I'd done it, I'd overcome something that was so horrible to begin with, and I thought all I need to do now is do some assessments and then I'm done. So we went back from here up to here, and then very quickly went right down here. So the assessment for this course is broken up into two separate parts. The first part is a child study, where when on placement we chose one specific child to do a study on about their language acquisition, literacy development, and all of that kind of stuff. We were basically writing a report on a specific child using all the information that we'd gathered during our lectures and tutorials at the beginning of the semester, and that was really difficult. I'd say probably the most difficult part was the timing of it all, because obviously we couldn't start writing up a report about this child until we'd done our full placement with this child. And then after placement finished, we had like a week and a half until it was due, and we had to write a lot. Basically we had to do lessons, observations, learning conversations with this child. We had to talk to the practitioners that were involved with them, maybe talk to the parents, and kind of get an overall picture of this child. We then had to review their learning with reference to the Curriculum for Excellence and all different Scottish policies, and see if they were kind of on track and where they were meant to be. Now, I loved my target child. She was a little angel. She was amazing. At the beginning of the placement, she was really shy and didn't even really want to talk to me. And then getting towards the end, she was literally like my little shadow. It was just so adorable. And I felt as though I had all of the information that I needed to write up this assessment, but I just didn't know how to formulate it. I didn't know how to put it all down into words. I had so much information. There were so many appendices that took ages to go through. And my final document for this one child study came out at 13,000 words, I think. That's more than my boyfriend wrote for his dissertation. And that was only one part of it. The second part of this assessment was a presentation. We had to do a 10-minute presentation about the importance of play in early years education. And this again was just a complete roller coaster. Number one, I love the theory of play. I was placed in a nursery, so I saw so much play. I saw so much that I could talk about and write about, and I had so much evidence I could use for this presentation. But presenting, Hollie, fear. Honestly, put me in front of a camera in a room with no one else there and I can talk to my heart's content, but put me in front of one person that is slightly judging me and I will just be sat there like shaking like a leaf, like ah. So actually writing this presentation was no bother. I loved it. I actually really enjoyed it. I did my own little survey while I was out on placement and asked the parents their opinions on play and used that in my presentation. And I loved bringing it all together, but the actual presenting side of things was really petrifying. Now bear in mind, all of this stuff happened during Vlogmas, so if you want to see me have the biggest breakdown, Vlogmas is where it's at. I will leave it down below if you want to see how worked up I got about all this stuff. I feel as though my Vlogmas really paints a picture of how up and down my December was. Honestly, exam season took it out of me and I was just all over the place. And that was all only for course A. That full course was just a big up and down. I went from starting off the year on an absolute high. I was loving it. Honestly, the course, I was totally loving the course. It was great. I was so excited for placement. Went down here. I was like, oh no, I can't do this. Was staying down here for a while. Placement was a horrible month of my life. But I survived it, so I was like, yeah, I survived it. All I need to do now is do my assessments. And then it's Christmas time. Assessment started. Back down there. I was like, what is going on? And now I'm going to let you into a little secret. Every single assessment that I submitted this semester, I cried. Literally, my self-esteem was so low. I felt as though I didn't have a clue what was going on. I had absolutely zero hope in myself and I just didn't know where my head was at. But then fast forward to a week ago when we got exam results back, that roller coaster was about to go all the way up again, like all the way up to the freaking moon. I got my results for course A back and I got an A1. What the hell? If you're unaware with the university grading scale, an A1, you can only achieve an A1 if you get full marks. I got full frickin' marks in a presentation which I was absolutely shitting myself for, and a 1,300 word child study that I had no idea what I was doing. Honestly, I'm still in shock. Like, I've got goosebumps. I am not an A student person. Like, what the heck? I got full marks in a third year assessment at university. I wasn't even going to go to university in the first place. So yeah, when I said that this full entire semester was a roller coaster, I bet you weren't expecting that. Like, honestly, this semester has been the Tower of Terror up and down. Like, that's how up and down this semester has been. And it ended on an A1. Like, I still can't believe it. I don't think I'm ever going to get over that. But that is just course 1. There are 2 more to come and this video is already petrifyingly long. So on to course B. Course B was developing professional knowledge. Now this was our kind of early maths module where we were just kind of learning how to teach maths to the little tiny small children that can't even tie their shoelaces. And I really enjoyed it again. This course, I just loved it. So the type of things that we were focusing on were like early counting and addition, structuring numbers, relational thinking, how to make those ties with really small children and make them love maths rather than run from it. I'd say this was probably one of the courses where I was able to pick up the most kind of practical advice and knowledge that I knew I was going to be able to use in my own class, and that was really inspiring. We had to use the stuff that we had learned while on placement, and that all tied in again, like with course A, to our assessment. Now our assessment for this course is probably one of the hardest to explain. I'm going to try my best, but you will probably not understand what I'm talking about, because I didn't even understand what I was talking about even when I submitted it. So what we had to do for our assessment is basically compile a big critical incident file analysing the maths abilities and the development in mathematics of a really small tiny child. So basically, while we were out on placement, we had to choose a few children to do this assessment with. Now we got this assessment called a SENA. It is a maths assessment, just kind of grade where young children are at, if they're developing right, what kind of techniques they're applying to mathematical questions, and it's just to kind of work out their strategies and if they're developing on the right level. So we had to do these interviews with some small children, and I ended up choosing one interview that I did to do my analysis on. So you had to sit down with this child and record your interview. You had to record yourself and this child running through this schedule of questions. There was like counters and different things that they had to do and showing however many things on different fingers and stuff like that. And this interview ended up being 55 minutes long. And that was sitting on my laptop for like the whole of November and December, and that is why I've had some major laptop stress, because this file was huge. And then when it got to the assessment side of things, what we had to do was look through all of this footage and pick out key moments where the child was using certain kind of strategies or little things that they might have picked up. You had to analyse how they were working out these questions. We then had to take these key moments that we'd picked out and transcribe them all, which took so long. I totally underestimated how long it would take to transcribe this interview. Honestly, I was there for days. And once all that was done, you had to add your analysis in. Basically just bringing together all your thoughts from the interview, where the child's at, how you could kind of encourage their learning to go further. And it was just a big old analysis, ball of analysis.
Wow.
And at the end of this analysis was where we had to add in all of our transcriptions to the video clips that we'd submitted. We had to submit the video clips onto My Aberdeen through a very secure, like, confidential portal so that no one else was going to get to these videos. And then we had to submit our analysis with the transcriptions and different appendices and things like that. So it was a lot. I'd probably say this was like a lot of workload. I'd say this was probably similar to the first course, but we were only getting like 15 credits for this one rather than the 30 for the first course. So yeah, it took up a lot of time, specifically the transcriptions. I honestly was like watching things over and over again, trying to type out what this small child was saying. And honestly, when you're sitting interviewing a 4-year-old about maths questions, there's a lot of like, and like, how on earth do you put that down into a transcription? Yeah. Also, this poor child went off on so many tangents. I felt so sorry for him. He had to sit there for like 55 minutes answering maths questions in a room surrounded by toys. I was like, I am so sorry. But yeah, that was our assessment for course B. And to be honest, when I submitted it, I did feel quite happy with it. I'd say this was probably the one that I was most confused at the beginning. And by the end, I was like, okay, I kind of get what I'm doing now. So I submitted it, not really sure what would happen because I didn't really know what they were expecting. I knew that I'd written something okay, but I didn't really know if it was what they'd wanted. So I was a little bit up in the air, didn't really know what was going to happen with this one. Got my result back. I got an A3. Honestly, the roller coaster continues and we're not getting off anytime soon. I'm honestly just so proud of myself. Like, I never ever thought I was going to be able to do anything like this, let alone do it with an A. Like, And finally, moving on to course C. Now, course C was our professional focus course. As I said at the beginning of this video, I chose to study belief in Scotland because I feel like it's something I have a little bit of an interest in. At school, I despised religious education. My school was also a religious school, so we got a whole lot of religion kind of fed to us, and that kind of switched me off from religion for a really long time. All I thought is that religion was something that our school was trying to force feed us, and because of that I did the classic teenager thing of just doing the complete opposite. I kind of grew to hate Christianity, which isn't a really nice thing to do, but in doing that I also started looking at other religions and other beliefs and spiritualities, and it kind of opened my eyes to a little bit more. And so when I saw this course I thought, excellent. This is something that I'm going to be able to learn how to move about belief and how to teach different things and how to create like a holistic spiritual environment in a classroom. But I'm also going to learn something for myself, and that's what made me choose this course, and I actually really enjoyed it. So some of the things that we were learning were about secularization, multiculturalism, New Age spirituality, morality, Islam. It was just a whole lot of stuff that was just so interesting. The only downside to this course is that it was taught in a 3-hour workshop on a Wednesday morning. And 3 hours is ridiculous. Like, all we get drilled into us at uni is how we shouldn't make our kids sit through lessons longer than like half an hour, and yet they're putting us in to 3-hour workshops. So that was a little bit tedious, but the stuff that we were actually learning was pretty decent. Like, it was fun, it was good to learn, it was stuff that I was interested in, it was stuff that I didn't actually mind doing the pre-reading for because I was actually interested about what this book was going to tell me. This was also the only course that didn't have any link to our placement, obviously because it was split into 4 different courses. People across our year were all doing entirely different things, so it wasn't really anything that you'd be able to regulate in a classroom. But it was really interesting having learned all of this stuff and then going into the classroom. I was picking up on things that I didn't need to pick up on for any assessments or anything. It was just something that was purely interesting to me. I was looking at how morality and religion and spirituality and belief were encouraged in this nursery that I was placed in, and that was quite interesting, I'm not gonna lie. As for the assessment of this course, It came in 2 separate parts that were submitted together. So the first part was a portfolio. As I said, it was a 6-week course, a 6-week period of time that we were at university. So we had 6 different inputs, and at the end of every input we had to do a little reflection about what we'd learned, how it had impacted on us and how it will impact on our teaching when we get out into schools. And I actually found this really interesting because, as I said, I really enjoyed what we were learning and I was able to see how it would reflect in a classroom situation. So every week we had to do these little portfolio kind of inputs. We could look for extra reading if we wanted to, extra videos, anything else that we'd found that we thought kind of tied into what we were learning. And then at the end of the course, after we'd finished it all, we had to do a reflective essay about our experience of this course. It was quite a broad essay question. It was something like, how is what you've learnt in this course going to impact your professional identity, or something along those lines, which kind of threw me because it's such a broad question. I was like, where do I tackle this from? And to be honest, I had hardly any time. Now, this was the last thing that we had to submit, and the maths assessment was due 2 days before. And because the maths assessment and the course A assessment were so huge, I hadn't started this professional focus assessment yet. So I was working down to the line with the maths assessment, and I finally submitted that. I think it was the 11th of December that one was due. No, the 10th. So that one was due on the 10th of December, and the professional focus one was due on the 12th. And because of the sheer scale of the other two, I didn't have a chance to even think about this one until I'd submitted the maths one. So I effectively had like 2 days to pull this professional focus essay together. Luckily, I'd kept on top of my reflections throughout the weeks that we were doing the course, so I didn't have to worry about that. All I had to do was write this essay. But at the same time, by the time I'd got round to it, I'd done a week and a half of non-stop research and writing and assessments, and I was just so stressed out and anxious about what I'd already submitted. I didn't know what I was doing. It got to the point that I felt as though I couldn't actually type words anymore. And I'm actually really frustrated because the day before this assessment was due, obviously I was filming for Vlogmas, and I had a big old heart-to-heart about it. I basically had a big breakdown and filmed it all. And it was something that I was actually quite looking forward to putting online because I feel as though it's something that people shy away from. And I just had enough. I was broken. Like, honestly, this assessment period had absolutely broken me. I didn't even know how to type a word anymore. I had all of my notes I had to just turn into an essay, and I just couldn't do it. But in classic Hollie Dolly style, I accidentally deleted all of the footage from that day, so it is now gone. It's out in the universe somewhere and we're never going to get it back. But yeah, from that point, I had just hit a wall. I contemplated not submitting this assessment because all it was making me do was cry. I just felt so anxious and horrible. I pretty much cried every time I looked at my laptop, and I just got it in my head that I couldn't do it. I'd completely worn myself down. I was just lying on my living room floor crying. Like, that's how horrible it was. And then my mum eventually ran me a bath and confiscated my laptop from me and put me into the bath for like 2 hours and was like, don't come out until you're ready to start again. So yeah, I sat in the bath for a while, had some blueberries, had some orange juice, and then got started again. I kind of screwed my head back on. I thought, come on, you've only got a few more hours and then this is out of your life. I literally had like 12 hours until it was due. So I sat into my bed, I started typing, and I didn't stop until about 4:30 in the morning. And then I went to bed, set my alarm for 2 hours, woke back up to do a proofread of it and do my final finishing touches, and then I finally got it submitted. Honestly, it was so stressful. But I got it done. I submitted it with like 10 minutes until the deadline, and I got it out of my life. Now, I got this one back, and to the same amount of shock as the other two, I got an A2. Like, I just can't believe it. I just honestly can't believe it. And I just want to, like, I got a bit of feedback in this assessment that really just stuck out to me, because after all of the horrible things that were happening, it felt as though I was finally, like, getting there. And for this assessment, I got some feedback which ends with, I'm left thinking this is the kind of reflective and heads up teacher I would want to work with. Very well done. And honestly, that is all I needed to hear. After I'd had the worst placement ever, I was left thinking if this was even the right thing for me. And to get that little bit of feedback that just reassures me was so nice. I honestly just can't believe it. Last semester was so intense. It was the biggest roller coaster I think I've ever experienced in my life. And we've come out the other end of it. That is us. We've done it. And I have passed this semester with the best grades I have ever received, ever. And I am so proud of myself. Like, I just can't believe it. So there we have it. That is a rundown of my first semester of third year at the University of Aberdeen. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. I know I was so all over the place in this video. It's so hard to try and put all of this into words. But if you do have any questions, anything you need a little bit of reassurance about, please leave them down below in the comments, because I know I've been all over the place. All I can hope is that this semester is a little less up and down, but still is successful. Whether that is ever going to happen, I have no idea if I can ever do this ever again. So fingers crossed that semester 2 is a lot more plain sailing, because I don't think I could do this again. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed. Please do subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already, and if you do, I will see you again very soon with another video. Bye! Mwah!